How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists across the fruited plain. It's Eric Erickson here. Oh my gosh, of course, we're going to start with a big story today. The phone number 877-973-7425. Now, before I give you any other texting, though, let me just say, please consider this. Please consider texting the word donate to 33777. And I'm going to send you a link to Hungry for a Day. What is this? If you weren't here yesterday, Hungry for a Day, and I do this every year. We raise money to feed families at Thanksgiving who are in need. With the Biden economy the way it is, there are a lot of struggling families. Everything's expensive. We used to do $20 to help a family of four, but we got to do $40 now. But if you can't do 40, if you can only do 5, if you can do 10, if you can do 15 or 20, if you text the word donate to 33777, you can help Hungry for a Day. They partner with food banks across the country to provide a turkey, sweet potatoes or mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, green beans, rolls, and all the fixins they can. And they do a ham in some parts of the country where, for example, there are people who live in temporary housing. They don't have kitchens, but they'll give them a smoked ham and some ready-made sides and things like that, just so they can have a Thanksgiving. They've been very thoughtful and deliberative in how they do this. They've been doing it for quite a while now, and they would love to have you help them. All you have to do is text the word donate to 33777. I'll send you a link back. Follow it to their donation portal. Thanks very much for considering it. Now, yes, we have to talk about Matt Gaetz, of course. The Matt Gaetz story, I'm interested in this story because my suspicion is that this is not what it seems, and I think it's a brilliant pick. And I know some of you are surprised that your host would think Matt Gaetz is a brilliant pick. Some of you are angry with me. Some of you are delightfully surprised with me. I think Matt Gaetz is a brilliant pick. Let me set the scene for you. Matt Gaetz is thinking about running for governor in 2026, and Republicans in Florida are kind of horrified at the prospect that he may run with Donald Trump's support and could possibly beat someone like Byron Donalds, an up-and-coming star who is also interested in running. Gaetz, interestingly enough, has been lobbying the Trump administration to put Byron Donalds' wife in as the Secretary of Education, thinking that might keep Byron Donalds in Washington away from a gubernatorial run. Well, instead, and maybe he'll still do that, but Donald Trump has named Matt Gaetz as his attorney general pick. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. Let me weave you through this. First of all, Matt Gaetz just got reelected. Literally a week ago Tuesday, got reelected. And now he's already resigned. The announcement came late yesterday, and Matt Gaetz resigned from Congress last night. The Speaker of the House confirmed it. Now, a buddy of mine sent me this. I had no idea. A lot of people, he told me, don't know Matt Gaetz as a hero in his community, which explains how a guy like that could keep getting reelected. A number of years ago, there was a young girl at a crosswalk, and a drunk driver sped towards her, and he would have hit her, and he probably would have killed her, except that a young man threw himself between the girl and the car, shocked the driver, who swerved. The Good Samaritan was injured. The girl was safe. She probably would have been killed. And the hero was Matt Gaetz. If you want to find out more about the story, Google Matt Gaetz traffic young girl. And you will find all about Matt Gaetz and young girls and traffic. And therein lies the problem, because that story is not really true. If you Google Matt Gaetz traffic young girls, you will find he's been under investigation for sex trafficking. The Department of Justice closed its investigation without prosecuting Matt Gaetz. The problem for Matt Gaetz and his defenders is that the House of Representatives Ethics Committee, which is a bipartisan committee of the same number of Democrats as Republicans, they have been quietly investigating Matt Gaetz, and we know that they have interviewed individuals the Justice Department never interviewed. And the report is supposed to come out tomorrow. All it takes is one Republican vote to release it. And they have the votes to release the report. The only way for the report to not be released is for Matt Gaetz to resign from Congress, which happened last night on word that he will be Donald Trump's nominee for the Attorney General's post. Coincidence? I think not. So Donald Trump is loyal to Matt Gaetz, who is loyal to Trump. So Trump, I think, is helping Matt Gaetz save face. He can say he's resigning from Congress so that they can rapidly do a special election in Florida. The talking point is that they can get it done by January 3rd. Every election lawyer I've talked to last night and today says that's actually not possible. Because of the way Florida special elections work, they can't do it in that amount of time. It takes at least 75 days, if not longer. The average is over 100 days, so probably not going to happen. They may try to rush it, but it's going to be very difficult for them to do. But Matt Gaetz can say, I've got to leave so we can do the special election ASAP before January 3rd, and I'm going to be Attorney General of the United States. And that's probably never going to happen. Why? Because Matt Gaetz will have to go through an FBI check, and he'll have to be confirmed by the United States Senate. And I'm going to sell you a bridge in Brooklyn if you're convinced that House ethics investigation report is never going to leak. If the Senate investigates for confirmation, the House can give the Senate what it's got. Don't think they're not going to. They may still try to release the report. The precedent is they don't, but they all hate Matt Gaetz. You all don't understand. Matt Gaetz is despised by the Republicans in the House of Representatives, let alone the Democrats. He's burned every bridge possible, including a bridge with a former member of the House of Representatives turned senator who is also a Trump whisperer, Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma. This is him last year talking to Manu Raju of CNN.
You got to think about this guy. This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. This is obviously before you got married. And so when that accusation came out, no one defended him, and then no one on the media would give him a time of the day. All of a sudden he found fame because he opposed the Speaker of the House back in November. And he's always stayed there, and he was never going to leave until he got this last moment of fame by going after a motion to vacate.
It's important to know Congressman Gaetz has never been charged with any sex trafficking crime, and he gave a statement to CNN in response. I don't think Markwayne Mullin and I have said 20 words to each other on the House floor. This is a lie from someone who doesn't know me and who is coping with the death of the political career of his friend Kevin.
Well, Matt Gaetz can say that, but Markwayne Mullin has a vote in the United States Senate, and last night strongly suggested he was not going to vote for Matt Gaetz. And here's the thing. You're not going to beat Markwayne Mullin in Oklahoma, who's a friend of Donald Trump's, who's not going to oppose Markwayne Mullin because of a Matt Gaetz vote. And even if he did, you got Mitch McConnell, who does not give one whit what Donald Trump thinks. You've got Susan Collins, who relishes the opportunity to stand up to Donald Trump, but has already said this ain't going to happen. You've got Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who literally did not believe the news and had to be shown someone's cell phone in order to do it and laughed. She's not going to do it. You got Bill Cassidy in Louisiana, who does not care about Trump, may not run again, and certainly loves to stand up to Trump. You got Tom Tillis of North Carolina as well. Matt Gaetz does not have the votes in the United States Senate. This is to save face. And even if he did have the votes to do this, here's a problem for him. Every one of Donald Trump's attorneys general have become the bad guy. Jeff Sessions was heralded as a loyal, brilliant pick. Oh, yeah, you go back and you read the MAGA press. Forget the mainstream media, the MAGA press. Read them. When Jeff Sessions was picked, they loved the guy. And then he let a special investigation happen. He earned Trump's wrath, and they pushed the guy out. They vilified him. Said he was a dolt, a dunce, an idiot from Alabama. And they brought in William Barr, George H.W. Bush's attorney general, and they loved the guy. They loved him. He ran circles around the Mueller investigators. He ran circles around everyone. He beclowned members of Congress. They loved him until he refused to say the election was stolen. And actually went on television and said it wasn't stolen. Sure, there were irregularities, but it wasn't stolen. And they hated him. They vilified him. Let's just say somehow Donald Trump is able to get Matt Gaetz in through recess appointment or something. He's either got to be extremely competent or he's going to be the fall guy. And either way, he's taken out of the field for the Florida 2026 gubernatorial primary. Byron Donalds is set up for it. Gaetz is out. Gaetz is either in D.C. working for Trump or he's destroyed. Either way, this is why it's a brilliant pick. Donald Trump has immediately overnight improved the morale of the House Republicans who despise Matt Gaetz, even the ones to the right of Gaetz in the House, with the exception like Marjorie Taylor Greene and maybe two or three others. None of even the Freedom Caucus guys don't like Matt Gaetz. He's ensured that Matt Gaetz is going to be destroyed if he goes through a confirmation hearing in the Senate. He's probably saved the Florida gubernatorial primary, and he's ended Matt Gaetz's political career. It's a brilliant move by Donald Trump and Susie Wiles. A brilliant, brilliant play. Gaetz can find a way to be loyal to Donald Trump. And if he does somehow manage to get into the attorney general spot for recess appointment, and that's dubious under the law, it's dubious, and I'll explain why when we come back, he's going to be the fall guy. He will be in over his head. He practiced law for 25 total months before getting elected to the United States House of Representatives. He wasn't a great lawyer, and he may be able to fight the wokes, and that'll get him some great headlines from MAGA. But Donald Trump's been given a mandate from the people to exercise some competence. You got Kristi Noem already at Department of Homeland Security. Even the super MAGA doesn't like her because she caved on trans issues with the NAACP, or NCAA, not NAACP, NCAA, with donors and the like. You're going to have, she's already got all sorts of issues that people don't like on the right and among Trump supporters. Now you got Gaetz in over his head. Donald Trump's got to exercise some competence. And if the Department of Justice, one of the most crucial roles in government, if he's in over his head, he becomes the fall guy. He gets blamed, and it's game over for him. Donald Trump played this brilliantly. He helped the brother out while feeding him to the lions. Welcome back. It's Erick Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. If you text Erick, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, all the links. I will be in Las Vegas tomorrow doing a listener event, and I had it in my head it's tonight, but it's actually tomorrow. So I'm not going to be here. I'm going to take the day off. Y'all, I am physically exhausted. Normally, I take off after the election. Like, I'll do the Wednesday after the election, then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm gone. And this year, there was so much happening, so much news. I felt obligated to be with you guys. And then on Tuesday, we put the dog down. The weekend was not restful. I was in Tulsa on Thursday, flew home Friday, did the show. I was traveling on Saturday, had to go to the vet on Sunday, and I am physically exhausted, in addition to just the emotional turmoil of the dog situation. And God bless my wife is a saint. My wife, I was like, if you need me to stay home, I will stay home. She's like, you are going to jump off a roof. If you don't take some time off, you're starting to be stressed out and snippy with everybody, so go. So I'll have listeners tomorrow in Vegas, and then Saturday, Sunday, I'm just going to take the day off and just hang out in Vegas, fly home Sunday evening. And then, we got, another week or two until Thanksgiving, so I'll be fine. By the way, on Monday night, this will age me for some of you. On Monday night, went to my favorite restaurant, Table in Maine. Love that place. And I was with three guys, and one of them said, I thought he kept saying, that's TP. That's TP. I don't know who TP is. And I finally like, TP is in toilet paper? It's like, no, T-Pain. T-Pain. It's like, I didn't hear the pain. It's like you were saying TP. I know who T-Pain is. I don't know what he looks like. I'm not a regular listener of his music, but he was there having dinner with his wife. And next day, he and Mark Zuckerberg drop a tune. I need to harass Zuckerberg there. I kind of know Zuckerberg, and I guess I need to harass him that I saw T-Pain on Monday night, and there he is with him on Tuesday. Making music. I'm apparently a super nice guy. I wasn't going to bother him, and I made sure nobody else did. And I don't want to be bothered while I'm eating dinner. I'm sure he didn't want to be bothered while he was eating dinner. But yes, he's got great taste in restaurants. Let me tell you that. Brilliant taste in restaurants. The downside of me talking about Table of Maine, though, is I'm not going to be able to get a table, am I? In any event, that was kind of cool. My daughter was like, he did a song with Taylor Swift, Dad. Nope, I had no idea. I am definitely dad years old now. All right, I got to move on. Coming up, how I can tell you recess appointments probably aren't going to fly with Congress. But first, I need to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. I actually have one in my travel bag for my hotel room in Las Vegas, because you never know what the people next door are doing, and it'll wipe out any odor. Litter box odors, pet odors, smoking odors, it wipes them out. And now the new Eden Pure Thunderstorm has been redesigned. It's smaller than it used to be. It still packs a wallop. It gets rid of dust and pollen and pet dander. It gets rid of any odor. And now it generates plasma, and it gets rid of bacteria and viruses as well. 99.9% of bacteria and viruses eliminated with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them and save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. It is a fantastic product. I really genuinely love mine. You will too. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code ERIC, ERICK, the number 3, EdenPureDeals.com. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. Phone number 877-973-7425. I was thinking about this, scrolling back through the notifications over on my phone overnight. Juan Ciscomani, sometime after 10:30 last night, was declared the winner in Arizona in his congressional district, becoming the 218th Republican member of Congress to win, thereby ensuring Republican majority in the House. Of course, that was then kind of nullified by Matt Gaetz, deciding he's going to resign. He's already resigned. So that causes a problem. But nonetheless, the Republicans will have the majority. And those poor New York Times technologists who said that they couldn't go to work unless there were trigger warnings. They were triggered last night when, after more than a week after the election, they had to send out another alert saying, hey, guys, the Republicans now control everything. They were triggered. Now, before I get into the recess appointments, you should know Mark Caputo, who is writes at The Bulwark, which is an anti-Trump site, but he's very, very plugged into Trump world. He's reporting at The Bulwark that contrary to the ideas I put forward, that Donald Trump thinks that Matt Gaetz absolutely should be at the Department of Justice and is daring senators to challenge him. And I think some senators are going to be willing to challenge him. This is why, senators serve for 6 years. They overlap presidential terms. A number of them just got elected. I don't know. I don't know where Dave McCormick, who's going to have a tough fight in 6 years already, we can say, does he want to support Trump's attorney general pick if it's Matt Gaetz? I don't know. Susan Collins, is she going to run again? And if she's not, do you think she really wants to support Matt Gaetz, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell? McConnell doesn't like Trump. Why does he want to support a guy like Matt Gaetz? I don't know that he can get to 50. He's got to have 50 because then J.D. Vance can break the tie. The other thing you should know is that if he's appointed in a recess appointment, he's not allowed to be paid. Federal law prohibits salary to recess appointments. Now, here's the thing. Let me read you the statute so that you have it. Payment for services may not be made from the Treasury of the United States to an individual appointed during a recess of the Senate to fill a vacancy in an existing office if the vacancy existed while the Senate was in session and was by law required to be filled by and with the advice and consent of the Senate until the appointee has been confirmed by the Senate. So in other words, you appoint Matt Gaetz to a position that was open when the Senate came into session. And definitionally, the Senate comes into session January 3rd, January 20th, Trump comes in. All of Biden's appointees are fired or resigned. They go away. It's vacant. It's a advice and consent department agency head. So if Gaetz were to be thrown in there as a recess appointment, he couldn't be paid anything by the U.S. government. I don't know that he matters. He comes from money. He probably doesn't care, but he couldn't be paid until the Senate confirms him. And then the question is, will he be confirmed? Now, why? Ed Whelan over at National Review has written about this. He's a little bit concerned about Trump's plan for recess appointments. Essentially, the Constitution says if the House and the Senate cannot agree to a time to adjourn, the president can force their adjournment. If that happens, technically Donald Trump has recess appointments. However, the Supreme Court, I'm reading from Ed Whelan, the Supreme Court might well rule that the president's power to make recess appointments is limited to intersession recesses, that is, recesses between two Senate sessions, and further, that it applies only when the office has become vacant during that recess. This is notable. That is the position Antonin Scalia took in National Labor Relations Board versus Canning. In 2014, in the National Labor Relations Board versus Canning case, that involved an Obama appointee to the National Labor Relations Board. There were 3 members of the NRLB. They were pending in the Senate when it passed a December 17, 2011 resolution providing for a series of pro forma sessions with no business transacted every Tuesday and Friday through January 20, 2012. The president appointed the 3 members between the January 3rd and January 6th pro forma sessions, invoking the recess appointments clause, which gave the president the power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate. The District of Columbia Circuit held the appointments fell outside the scope of the clause, and the Supreme Court agreed. The clause reflected the tensions between the president's continuous need for the assistance of subordinates and the Senate's early practice of meeting for a single brief session every year, and should be interpreted as granting the president power to make appointments during a recess, but not offering authority routinely to avoid the need for Senate confirmation. Putting significant weight on historic practice, the court found the clause applies to both intersession and intra-sessions of substantial length. The 3-day recess would be too short. In light of historic practice, a recess of more than 3 but not less than 10 days is presumptively too short. The phrase vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate applies both to vacancies that come into existence during a recess and to vacancies that initially occur before a recess and continue. Now, that was the holding of the court. However, Antonin Scalia, in a concurrence on the merits of the decision, joined by John Roberts, Sam Alito, and Clarence Thomas, said the appointments power should actually only apply to intra-session recesses. That is, if a vacancy comes up when the Senate is in session, that the president cannot appoint someone when the Senate goes into recess. The president can only appoint someone to fill a position if the Senate is in recess when the position becomes vacant. That's what they did. So you need to keep that perspective. In fact, Scalia condemned the tragedy of the majority's deference to the recess appointment practices of the executive branch and said damage is done to our separation of powers jurisprudence more generally by allowing the appointments of individuals in recesses when those vacancies were vacant when the Senate was meeting and considering nominees. All of that is legal gobbledygook to a lot of you, I realize. But what Antonin Scalia was saying, and what John Roberts, Sam Alito, and Clarence Thomas, all three of whom are still there, said was that you cannot appoint people to positions when those positions were vacant while the Senate was in session. You can't have an open position and refuse to send someone to the Senate for consideration, wait for the Senate to go into recess, and then say, okay, now I'm going to fill the appointment. That's not allowed, according to Antonin Scalia. Now, that was a concurrent opinion. Antonin Scalia, John Roberts, Sam Alito, and Clarence Thomas agreed with the NLRB decision in 2014 over how those were done. They disagreed with the majority, arguing that actually the appointment power applies to inter and intra-recess appointments. So I realize that's some legal gobbledygook, but the bottom line is that if Clarence Thomas, Sam Alito, and John Roberts still agreed with that position, they would oppose appointing someone when the Senate had been in session and just they're trying to bypass Senate confirmation. So I don't know that Gaetz can get the appointment, and I don't know that he can get the votes. Now, maybe he can. If he does, though, the last two attorneys general ended badly in MAGA world. Now, Gaetz is a hero of MAGA. They love him because he owns the left. In fact, John Fetterman said this is a massive troll to own the left. I kind of agree with him. And Trump, according to Mark Caputo, wants someone who will go into the Department of Justice and refuse to do special counsels and wage war against the deep state. That's what he wants. He believes the Department of Justice undermined him repeatedly when he was president. And so he wants Gaetz there. Gaetz is his SOB. According to Donald Trump, in his words, Gaetz is an SOB, but he's Trump's SOB. You've also got Tulsi Gabbard for DNI. This is another one. I'm not sure. Tulsi Gabbard has suggested that Bashar al-Assad, who's the leader of the Nazi Arab Party, is somehow a victim. I don't know if you know this or not. The Ba'athist Party. Bashar al-Assad is the leader of the Ba'athist Party. Saddam Hussein was the leader of the Ba'athist Party in Iraq. Bashar al-Assad is the leader of the Ba'athist Party in Syria. Where does the Ba'athist Party come from? The Ba'athist Party is the Nazi Arab Party. The Nazis affiliated with the Ba'athists during World War II. They stayed in positions of power after World War II. Bashar al-Assad and Saddam Hussein were the ideological heirs to Adolf Hitler. And I am not making that up. That is real history. And Tulsi Gabbard has been an apologist for Bashar al-Assad, the leader of the Arab Nazi Party. She suggested he's not the bad guy, he's somehow a victim. She likes Vladimir Putin. I know there's this infatuation of people on the right with Tulsi Gabbard. I've never liked her. I've never trusted her. I don't think she's good. And she and Marco Rubio are on opposite sides of Ukraine, among other things. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play together. I kind of hope I would rather Matt Gaetz get confirmed than Tulsi Gabbard. I think Gabbard would be bad. And I know many of you listening right now are mad at me for saying that because you have some fixation on her because she's some, you think, attractive woman who says the right stuff and loves Donald Trump. I think she's awful. But she may very well get confirmed. Here's the thing, though. Whether it's Kristi Noem or Tulsi Gabbard or whether it is Matt Gaetz, if they don't perform competently, Donald Trump is going to take off their heads, metaphorically speaking, and that'll at least be a good thing. Trump's got to have a good 4 years, and keep in mind, J.D. Vance is in the background. J.D. Vance wants to run for president of the United States. If the Trump appointees are screwing stuff up, Vance isn't going to care. He's going to take them out, and that's good. Vance is going to be the critical watchdog of the Trump administration because he's going to want to run for 2028, and he's going to need a competent, successful Donald Trump term to make that happen. Now, you need a competent, successful bank to make your business happen. That's where Old Glory Bank comes in. They would love to help you or your business. You can get a no-fee checking or savings account as an individual. You can get a great business checking, business savings account. If you're a business, they can help you with mortgages, home loans, business loans, car loans, CDs, great interest rates, you name it. They can take care of your kids as well. If you need a custodial account for your kids, where your kids can even deposit cash, even though it's an online bank, they figured it out so your kid can deposit cash. Get to learn apps and debit cards, all that sort of easy for the kid to understand, easy for you to understand. I love their app. Go to oldglorybank.com. It literally is my bank. I have a savings account with them. I have a checking account with them. I love this bank. They are my bank. They can be your bank. Old Glory Bank, they're by conservatives and for conservatives. You will never get debanked for being a conservative. You could even use your debit card to buy a gun if you want, unlike some banks that won't let you do that. Oldglorybank.com. Oldglorybank.com. They're my bank. I love them so much I invested in them. Oldglorybank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you're buying a business, if you're building a business, if you're buying a franchise, if you need a heavy equipment loan for your business, First Liberty Building and Loan loves to help businesses. They've been making their own lending decisions since the 1990s. The Frost family has a passion for helping businesses grow. They love to help your business. I know them. They are genuinely good, caring, helpful people. Reach out to them, firstlibertyga.com, firstlibertyga.com. Tell them I sent you. Well, we have the answer to a riddle. Why did Kamala Harris not do an interview with Joe Rogan? Now, you and I may be thinking because she's a dimwit, and in a 2-3 hour conversation, it would be exposed. Yeah, I think that's the case. However, Jennifer Palmieri is a highly respected, longtime Democratic strategist. She went to bat for the Harris campaign, helping Doug Emhoff on the campaign trail, giving him advice. And she has spoken to, I believe, Semaphore about what happened. The Financial Times. I'm sorry. She says the Kamala Harris campaign feared a progressive backlash. That's why she didn't go forward with the interview. She said there was a backlash with some of the progressive staff as well, who didn't want her to do that. This is from the Financial Times. Kamala Harris's fears of a progressive backlash killed a plan for her to appear on Joe Rogan's podcast, a campaign official said, shedding light on a decision that infuriated some Republicans reeling from Donald Trump's election victory. The Harris campaign and Rogan, whose audience is bigger than that of many television networks, had discussed an interview, a move some Democrats hoped Harris could use to reach young men. The talks faltered because of concerns at how the interview would be perceived within the Democratic Party, said Jennifer Palmieri, a senior advisor to Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, during the campaign. Quote, there was a backlash with some of our progressive staff that didn't want her to be on it and how there would be a backlash among progressives, Palmieri said on Wednesday. There's your answer. The wokes. The wokes. We're having more and more Democrats come forward and say they're held hostage by the wokes. Now, here's one of the interesting ones to me. Ezra Klein went on Pod Saves America, the left-wing podcast with all the Obama bros. I can't play you the audio because of the language, but he essentially said he went into cities and he talked to voters. And the voters were furious. They were furious at being lectured by Democrats that actually they were doing well when the Democrats doing the lecturing were wealthy and the people they were lecturing weren't. They were furious at the idea that inflation had gone down when just the rate of inflation had gone down, not inflation itself. They were furious at the idea that their wages had come up when, yes, but with inflation, they really hadn't. They were furious with crime and the Democrats telling them that they only thought there was crime because of Fox News when they knew in their lived experience there was crime. In other words, all the things Republicans have been telling you for the entire campaign season, the voters were telling Ezra Klein, and Ezra Klein and the Democrats were telling everybody, that's not true. That's not true. The whole time they were doing a service. And this is, listen, I know a lot of you get mad at me because you don't like the things I say, whether it was what I just said about Tulsi Gabbard or Matt Gaetz or whatever. You get mad at me. I try, whether you agree with me or not, to never tell you what I think you want to hear. I try to tell you what I actually think. I try to persuade you that I'm right. And when I'm not right, I try to tell you, yeah, I got that wrong, like I did just yesterday, the day before, on what I got wrong in the election. I never want to just parrot you, and I never want to delude you. And there are voices on the left and the right who never want to risk angering you. They're afraid they'll alienate you. They never want to do that. God forbid. I just try to tell you what's true, what I think is true, to give you the best estimate of what's going on. Here's Ezra Klein on a progressive podcast telling these guys, hey, guys, I interviewed people in cities and they were furious. They said, yes, there really is crime. It's not Fox News. I'm not a Fox News watcher. There's crime. I don't know why you guys are telling me there's not. No, inflation's not down. Inflation's still bad. Why are you telling me inflation's good? I don't feel it. It's still bad. It sucks. My family's costs are through the roof, and my wages haven't gone up enough to keep up. They were telling him this during the campaign, not after the campaign, before the end of the election. They were telling him. Ezra Klein wasn't saying anything. He wasn't running up the red flag. These Pod Saves America bros, they weren't out there doing anything about it. Keeping everybody in the shadows, everybody in the dark, lying to the progressive base. There are people on both sides who are lying to the bases of the parties to stay in their good graces and never shake them up. I'm sorry. I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. When we come back, more hard truths, but we got more politics and also global news we got to talk about when we come back.